We are live. We are live. Welcome. I'm Dr. Frita. It's Medical Monday, and today we're talking about the trending health topics in the headlines and celebrity health news. Today we got an action-packed show for you today. We're going to do your weekly dose where I give you a fresh take on medicine you simply can't get anywhere else. We'll talk about Kim Kardashian and how she reveals that she's been diagnosed with a brain aneurysm, and she actually blames the stress of her divorce from Kanye West as the cause. And so we'll talk about if that's a real possibility. Is she exaggerating? We'll talk about brain aneurysms. And then we'll talk about protein shakes. Raise your hands if you use protein powders or protein shakes to try to stay healthy. Well, there's been a consumer report that there are actually some pretty significant amounts of lead found in protein shakes, even the plant-based ones, especially the plant-based ones. And so we'll talk about what this means and how it should inform you as far as trying to drink your healthy shakes to keep your muscle mass up. And then we'll get into a myth versus fact statement. You know, that's my favorite little game. And we'll talk about myth versus fact when it comes to Gucci Mane. Y'all know Gucci Mane. He did an interview with his wife on The Breakfast Club, and he has a book coming out where he shares his struggle with schizophrenia and bipolar. And so we'll talk about myth versus fact when it comes to these very real mental health diagnoses. And then I'll give you more, your second dose. And we'll talk about Brandy. You know about the Brandy and Monica concert. The Boy Is Mine. Well, Brandy had to walk off stage during her weekend Chicago concert, and her cause for doing it, dehydration. Is dehydration serious? Spoiler alert, yes, it is. It can be life-threatening. It could even cause kidney failure. And so we'll talk about the significance of dehydration. And then we'll get into some health. 10,000 steps, 10,000 steps. Is it really necessary? Some studies are showing us that you can be potentially just as healthy with less steps. So make sure you go ahead and give us a like as we get started. I'm Dr. Frita. This is Medical Monday. Let's go. Hello, hello. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Medical Monday, where we talk about trending medical topics in the headlines and celebrity health news. You know I don't do it alone. Well, my co-host, my office manager, Miss Shador, please come to the front of the stage. How are you doing, Miss Shador?
Hey, you doing good, Dr. Frida? How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. How was your weekend?
Had a good weekend. Went to a concert
Ooh, how was the
on
concert?
Friday. It was pretty good. John Legend, everybody walked out and they thought he was done. But of course, he didn't sing his most popular song until the very end. So that was pretty good.
Did you get a chance to see?
Oh, yeah.
So you stayed to the end.
I stayed to the end. Yeah, a lot of
I
people
know
jumped
that's
up and
right.
sleep. I stayed to the end. I always remain seated until it's over.
That's how I am in movies and concerts. I'm getting all my every last penny, squeeze a penny till it pops. I'm getting all my concerts worth when I go. So good. I'm
Absolutely.
glad you enjoyed yourself,
Absolutely.
Shador. Got a
Thank
little
you.
grown-up time.
Yeah, LeBron
Good.
time in, then the little one, he wants to be a helicopter for
Yes.
Halloween. Not a pilot, but a helicopter for Halloween. So worked on that this weekend.
A helicopter. And I understand that you're going to have a pretty high-tech costume for him, not one that you're purchasing, but you've pulled in your niece, who is a young middle school artiste, and you're about to have some moving propellers. How's that going?
It's going well. She actually didn't put too much of a hand in, so I've been winging it. He actually helped. Shamar helped with painting and everything. My little one, so he helped paint her side and the top and things of that nature. So he's ready to get the propellers on, and we'll be good to go.
You and that little 3-year-old boy genius. So that's pretty good. Yeah, our weekend was pretty good here. You know, I was very excited. Oh, last week I didn't know. Well, you know, both of my ninth graders, my twins, tried out for their high school basketball teams. They both made the teams. And my daughter actually will now be playing varsity as a freshman in basketball.
Oh, yay! So
So
she got
we've been
news. That's good.
very excited about that. And then my little college young lady came home. My 19-year-old came home from FAMU. This was her first free weekend being in the Marching 100, being in the band. So she came here for a quick turnaround weekend. So we had a good time over
Oh,
here as
yay!
well.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah. But Shador, let me tell you who's not having a good time. some of these folks in our headlines. And so we will talk about them. But first, who was the first person in the chat, Shador?
First in the chat today is Miss Aileen.
Hi, Miss Aileen.
So good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, hello. All right.
Shout out to our member, Miss Rosalind, is joining us today.
Hi, Ms. Rosalind. Ms. Rosalind, we have our live Q&A. So just stay tuned and we will be dropping that link for you. So just stay tuned for our live Q&A. Members only. If you want to be a member, please make sure you click the link in the description or go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. I give you members only videos. I definitely was posting more members only videos this week. And then we do our live Q&A where it's not just me sitting here talking. You actually ask me questions for the entire segment. You can come on stage. You can ask me back-to-back questions. Members, it's your time. And for those of you who are new to us, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I've been board certified in nephrology. So I am a board certified kidney doctor and a board certified high blood pressure doctor. I've also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and obesity medicine. I read medical journals every single day, no exaggeration. I love to learn. More importantly, I love to share. So when you join our membership, you have access to asking me medical questions about a variety of topics, and you have access to my years and years and years of experience at this point. So thank you to everyone who's a member, and thank you to all of you who join us every week. Please be sure to give us a like. That is a free way to support the channel, and share. Let YouTube know we're here. Let IG know we're here. Let Facebook know we're here. Hey, let everybody know. And hello to everyone in the replay crew. All right, we're going to get started, but I do want y'all to go ahead and mark your calendars for today. I am going to be on the Don Lemon Show again, and I'll be talking about the breaking news that hit this morning, and that is that President Donald Trump revealed that when he had his second annual physical exam, he actually had an MRI. So I'll be weighing in. According to Trump and to his press secretary, he is in perfect health. He's very transparent. The doctors told him it was a glowing report, the best they've seen in someone his age. He said, he used the word perfect, but you know, I'm going to give you my very real perspective, and I'll be doing it on the Don Lemon Show. So make sure you tune into that. Put your notifications on so you know when it drops. It'll probably be in this afternoon, probably about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Let me give you your weekly dose, okay? Your weekly dose of medicine. It's a fresh take on medicine you can't get anywhere else. And we'll start off talking about Kim Kardashian. Whether you love him or not, you cannot deny the influence that the Kardashians have in pop culture. And Kim Kardashian shared that she has been diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. And yes, that is a serious diagnosis. But here's what's really been catching people's attention. Kim Kardashian states that she believes, and this is according to the clips and the reports that we've seen, she believes that her brain aneurysm was largely caused by her ex-husband going through the stress of the divorce with Kanye West, now known as Ye. And people have been up in arms. I've actually posted some short form content on that, and people have been going back and forth. But we'll talk about, is it possible for Ye, for the stress of an ex-husband, to actually cause a brain aneurysm? And then very importantly, I'll talk to you about how very serious brain aneurysms are, how to recognize them, how they are treated. So let's play that clip and then we'll talk brain aneurysms.
Scary health news from a major celebrity.
There's like a little aneurysm. Whoa.
Entrepreneur and reality TV star Kim Kardashian revealing she was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm in the premiere of The Kardashians, shown getting a scan and explaining her diagnosis.
They're like, just stress. And I'm like,
brain aneurysms are caused by blood vessels swelling in the brain. Many are small and don't cause symptoms, but become deadly if the vessels rupture.
Last night, I was like, why the is this happening?
In the show, the mother of four emotionally explaining she's been under stress from her relationship with her ex-husband, rapper Kanye West, who now goes by Ye. The two divorced in 2021 after 7 years of marriage. In recent years, West has been under a cloud of controversy for offensive comments and erratic behavior. Kardashian also saying that she recently developed a skin condition from the turmoil.
I was pretty tested, I will say. Very tested. I mean, I have psoriasis again. I felt it coming in.
The star has been opening up more on her relationship with West.
Listen, now Kim Kardashian has blamed Kanye for her psoriasis, for her brain aneurysm. Is this possible? Listen up, because you might be surprised at my answer. But as we get ready to go into what exactly brain aneurysms are, I have a question for my med heads. Now, y'all like to come here every week and show out, and y'all like to show how smart you are. So I want you to go ahead before we even talk about it. Put Kim in the chat, Kim. Just put Kim in the chat in capital letters so we know what question you're answering. And my question is, what are risk factors for having a brain aneurysm? What are risk factors for having a brain aneurysm? Now, I already told you, she said that Kanye West is the cause of hers. And so we'll see if that's the case. So put that in your answers. Also, under Kim as well, I want you to say, do you really think that the stress from a divorce from someone like Kanye West could really be a cause? Do you think that's a possibility, or is she just being hyperbolic? Is she doing too much? So either one of your answers about brain aneurysms, put Kim in all caps, and then we'll know that's what you're answering. All right. So what is a brain aneurysm? A brain aneurysm is an outpouching of an artery in or around the brain, and it occurs in a part of the brain where there is a weakness in the artery wall, okay, or thinness in the artery wall. And what happens is as blood flows through the artery, the pressure will push out against that weakened portion of the artery, and it causes it to balloon out, almost like a berry that's hanging off of a vine. Well, the more and more blood flows through, and the more and more that there's pressure in that weakened part of the artery, the bigger and bigger the aneurysm gets. And if you think about a balloon, like a water balloon, you ever threw water balloons, you throw them and they pop. Well, in a water balloon, the more and more water you put in the balloon, the thinner and thinner the walls get, right? And so if you have a really huge water balloon, you have thin walls and it pops more easily. Same thing with the brain aneurysm. The more and more pressure, the more blood that gets into that outpouching, that aneurysm, the thinner the artery wall gets, and the more easily the aneurysm pops or ruptured. And if you have a ruptured brain aneurysm, that's life-threatening. 25% of the people who get a ruptured brain aneurysm pass away within the first 24 hours, and 50% pass away within the first 3 months. And so I know we talk about a lot of celebrity news and people are talking about celebrity gossip, but when Kim Kardashian says that she has a brain aneurysm, we're talking about something serious, okay? A ruptured brain aneurysm is very life-threatening. The good news is that many people have aneurysms that are unruptured and that never ruptured. In fact, 1 out of every 50 people in the United States has an unruptured brain aneurysm. Many folks don't even know that they have brain aneurysms. But if you are in that unlucky bunch of the ones who have ruptured brain aneurysms, it really can take your life. And so I just want to put everything into context while we're talking about Ye and him doing this and stress. And is Kim Kardashian telling the truth? Is she exaggerating? Is she just being somebody from the movie Get Out? Just understand that what she has shared is very serious and very real. And there are risk factors for brain aneurysms. And so I want to see what my med heads have to say. I know they answered. Did anyone answer, Shador? What you think some risk factors for a brain aneurysm might be?
Of course they did.
Hey.
Sky's the limit. Says blood clot.
Sky's the limit. Blood clot. So a blood clot in and of itself would not be a risk factor for an aneurysm. Let's see. But sometimes if you develop aneurysms, they can be clotted off. Let's see. Who else do we have?
Denise, hello.
Hi,
Says
Denise.
genetics.
Absolutely. Genetics. In fact, so if you have a family member, a first-degree family member, and certainly if you have more than one first-degree family member who's had a brain aneurysm, then your risk for developing a brain aneurysm goes up exponentially. It goes up quite a bit. Plus, there's certain genetic conditions that you can inherit that can lead to a risk for aneurysm. I'll see if anyone mentions those specific risks, and then I'll get back to them. But yeah, you come on to the front of the class.
All right. Vicky.
Hi, Ms. Vicky.
Smoking.
Smoking, yes. Smoking is a risk factor for a brain aneurysm. It's also a risk factor for other artery diseases, right? Like coronary artery disease That's a risk factor from smoking. If you get having poor circulation or peripheral artery disease, smoking is a risk factor for that. So yes, smoking is a risk factor for a brain aneurysm. Come on up, front of the class.
All right. I remember Ms. Rosalind added head trauma.
Very good. So a head trauma would only be a risk factor if it were to somehow cause a weakening in the artery without actually causing the artery to rupture. Okay. And thank you for being a member, Ms. Rosalind.
All right. Elonia, hello.
Hi, Lonia.
Bad headache.
A bad headache. Now, bad headache is a symptom. Okay. So not necessarily the cause of a brain aneurysm, but absolutely that's a symptom. In fact, if you get a ruptured or a popped brain aneurysm, then many people describe it, if they live to tell it, as the worst headache of their life, or they'll call it a thunderclap headache. They'll describe it as a thunderclap. So absolutely a headache. A headache is a symptom, not a cause, but a symptom of a brain aneurysm, specifically a leaking or a ruptured brain aneurysm. Okay.
Right. I said a couple from IG. Shamira.
Hey, welcome IG. Wait, what I got for you on IG. Thank you. Now, I appreciate y'all for your support on IG. Listen, I've been very busy. So over this past week, I've given y'all some content on Brandy, talking about her dehydration. We'll get into that today. I did a short form content, a reel on Kim Kardashian, what we're talking about now. So you'll be able to go back on IG and just be able to look at and to share that to get some good sound bites on what the brain aneurysm is. I also talked about a recall. Y'all, if you use Neutrogena makeup removers like I do, the ultra soft cleansing towelettes, there has been a recall due to a bacterial contamination. Check that out. And then I was just fussing about my kids on IG. I did a lot on IG. So thank y'all. Thank you for your support. Okay, what do you say from IG?
Shamira says lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep. So, okay, now there can be a connection there because we know if you have a lack of sleep, that can increase your stress. If your stress goes up, then your cortisol hormones go up. Cortisol hormones go up. That causes your brains and your artery to tighten, causing a high pressure, and that could lead to a brain aneurysm. So, yes, indirectly. I'll take that.
Marilyn just touched on what you said, high blood pressure.
High blood pressure in and of itself. Now that's really a very huge, come on to the front. That's a huge cause because what? You have the high pressure in that artery pushing the outpouching of that weakened part of the artery wall, right? So absolutely 100%. High blood pressure is a risk factor for developing the aneurysm. It's a high risk factor for the aneurysm rupturing and potentially causing you to lose your life. Very good.
I can see clearly. Hello.
You know, I love that name. I can see clearly. Thank you for joining us again.
I can see clearly it says stroke.
A stroke. Very interesting. So the stroke, listen to what happens with the stroke connection. If you have a brain bleed because of a ruptured aneurysm, well, then you have a hemorrhagic stroke. So that's the connection as far as a stroke. So a ruptured brain aneurysm gives you a hemorrhagic stroke or a bleeding stroke. And we know that for strokes or CVA, cerebrovascular accidents, most of them are ischemic, meaning there's a blockage. You don't get enough blood flow to the brain. That's in about 85% of the cases, 87% of the cases. But in about 13% of the cases, the strokes are due to a brain bleed or hemorrhagic stroke. And so a ruptured brain aneurysm could fit into that category. Very good.
All right.
All right. We got a lot of participation. Y'all come to the front. Yay, gold stars.
Mun, hello.
Hi, Mun.
Mun says possibly drinking alcohol, eating fried foods and sugary, fatty foods, drugs, and family history of thin blood.
Come right here and sit by me up here. Because yes, substance use, including alcohol, can increase your risk for aneurysms. Let me tell you what other substance very specifically. White powder.
Someone said it on IG. DM said it on IG.
Who said?
DM said it on IG.
Yes, cocaine use. It causes vasoconstriction or tightening of the arteries, which could increase the pressure in the aneurysm. So yes, the substance use can definitely do it. And really just unhealthy lifestyle choices that are increasing your risk for stress in general. But yeah, you really hit on that substance use part. So come on. Good.
And family history of thin blood, question mark?
Yes. Then, so if you have, what will happen with that really, it would take a combination But certainly if you have thin blood, like say you have low platelets, or you are someone who has von Willebrand's disease, or if you bleed easily, then certainly if there's any slight pressure, then it wouldn't take much for you to bleed out. So if you did have a ruptured or leaking aneurysm, then having thin blood would certainly just worsen it. It would just worsen things. So good. Okay. And I want to circle back to the genetic disorders. So I talked about having, if you have a family history of a first degree relative with a brain aneurysm, how that can increase your risk of having a brain aneurysm. But there are also some very specific inherited disorders that can increase your risk for brain aneurysms. One, Marfan syndrome. Marfan syndrome. Oh, listen, put in the chat if you can tell me what US president had Marfan syndrome. Put it in all caps, please. What US president had Marfan syndrome? So Marfan syndrome is a genetic disorder or inherited disorder. It's a connective tissue disorder. And some of the features are that you are very tall, okay? You tend to be lean, so long and lanky, tend to have a long face. Look, my description might make you think of the US president, one of the early presidents. You also will have arachnodactyly or spider-like fingers. And sometimes that index finger, that second finger, will be as long as or longer than your third finger. And you do have other issues, like you can have heart issues, you can have a subluxation in your lens, you can have vision issues as well. And with Marfan syndrome, you're also at an increased risk for brain aneurysm. Marfan syndrome, okay? Does anybody know what US president had Marfan syndrome?
Capri on IG.
What you say, Capri on IG? Don't do it.
Abraham Lincoln.
Boom. Come on to the front. I need some gold star. What do I have? I don't have anything, but come on. Yes, absolutely. Abraham Lincoln. Now you heard my description of Marfan syndrome. Go back and look at his pictures. And we know that he was tall, he was lanky, long fingers, long head. He had Marfan syndrome. Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. Another genetic disorder, inherited disorder that can increase your risk for brain aneurysm, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And for that, it's just you tend to have really hyper flexible joints, stretchy skin. It's one of these connective tissue disorders as well. And it can increase your risk for brain aneurysm. And there's another one that I see as a board certified kidney doctor, PKD. Yeah. Autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease, or ADPKD. That's a condition where it's an inherited condition where you get multiple cysts in the kidneys, and these cysts will make your kidneys appear to be very large. Okay. Typical kidneys are about 9 to 11 centimeters in length. And, they're located in your flanks where the love handles are. If you have polycystic kidney disease, you might have kidneys that are 16 centimeters, 18 centimeters, really, really huge. And you also have an increased risk for having liver cysts and an increased risk for brain aneurysms. So that's just circling back to that genetics answer. There are some very specific inherited conditions that can also increase your risk. So very good, very excellent. So that's that on brain aneurysms and stress. Again, yes, stress can increase your risk. Now, so taking it back to Kanye West, is it possible for him to have been the cause of her brain aneurysm? Not likely the sole and only cause. She already would have had to have some type of a weakened point in her artery, right? Some type of a thin or weakened point. But absolutely, if he truly did cause to have high stress and high cortisol levels, dealing with the divorce, dealing with him and having an alleged mental disorder that does not appear to be managed, that can certainly stress someone who's sharing 4 kids with someone out. And so it can certainly contribute to the brain aneurysm. So she's really not being exaggerating and hyperbolic. So is he the only blame? No, I don't think so. But do I think that the stress from the divorce and the co-parenting could cause it? Absolutely. Same thing with psoriasis. That's an autoimmune skin disorder, and we can get into that in a different day. But stress can certainly exacerbate or worsen autoimmune disorders. So she's really not just being dramatic. So y'all give Kim a little bit of a break here. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. So now this is what I want to know. Put a pencil emoji in the chat if you use protein powder or drink protein shakes. Put a pencil emoji. in the chat if you drink protein powders or use protein shakes. And please go ahead and give us a like, and give us a share. Share us on your group chats, share us on your IG, share us in WhatsApp, share us in all the things, and let people know that we're here. We're here. Get used to it. All right. So let's talk about protein shakes, Shador, and why I'm having people put lead pencils in the emojis if they drink protein shakes. That's because there has been a consumer report that reveals some dangerously high levels of lead according to the Consumer Report standards. Dangerously high levels of lead have been found in protein shakes. They actually did a study where they looked at least 23 different protein shakes over 3 months. They sent them out to have independent companies to evaluate, and they found lead levels that were above what the Consumer Reports deems as high levels and above what California, because we know California tends to be a little stricter than the rest of the states. They found some pretty high levels. And we know a lot of people do protein shakes. We're going to find out if anybody has any pencils in this chat to try to keep your muscle mass up, to try to work on your health, right? But you need to know that might be some high lead levels. And so let's play this clip and let's talk about lead and what you need to know about protein shakes. It can have very deep consequences: high blood pressure, bone pain, neurological issues.
A new Consumer Report investigation finding detectable levels of lead in protein powders and shakes, especially plant-based ones, sparking concern amongst some of those health-conscious consumers. But before you panic or toss the supplements, let's get this all into context. We've got Dr. Frita Fisher, triple board certified physician in nephrology, internal medicine, and pediatrics to help us unpack this. I think when this report first came out, I think a lot of people use protein to help, get to those goals that you have in consumption of protein. Not what they wanted to see, but it's also not a huge red flag, at least not across the board just yet.
Absolutely. And yes, understandably, when people hear the word lead, it gets your attention. But the good news is that for most of these protein powders, the lead is in trace amounts. And so, all right. Just one protein shake is not going to cause immediate concern about long-term exposure over time. That's what's important. So it's not about panic. It's about being informed and understanding exactly what is in your dietary supplements.
Yeah, and the plant-based protein powders were the ones that seem to have more elevated levels of lead. A lot of them are pea protein, for example. And if you would find lead, I would imagine that you would find it in the soil, in the earth.
Lead is found naturally in the soil. And of course, plants grow from the soil. And if they grow from that soil, then they can have trace amounts, especially in rice proteins and pea proteins. Okay, so it's not a matter of manufacturers. All right. In order to watch that full interview, I have it on most of my social media platforms. Follow me on all social media platforms, y'all, if you want to see when I'm on media. So this is what I was on this past week, talking about lead, and that was on the local Fox 5 DC in Washington, DC. And so you can see that full interview. But let's talk about what you need to know, because is it dangerously high? Is it not? Is it trace? You're hearing different things, and I'll tell you why. So first, Shador, who has pencils in the chat? Who uses protein shakes or protein powders?
Quite a few pencils in the chat, Dr. Frita. One of our members, Dr. Alice.
Hi, Dr. Allen.
Miss Rosalind.
Hi.
And Patricia. These are all members. And then Miss Kathy.
Thank you for being members.
Has her pencil in the chat.
Okay.
LaShawn.
Hi, LaShawn. Hello, hello.
Purple Onion.
Hey, Purple Onion. So you use protein shakes too? Okay. Protein powder.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
And Juicy Jr. on IG.
Juicy got him crazy. Hey, thank you for joining on IG. So as evidenced by the pencils in the chat, using protein shakes, protein powders is pretty common. And we know that there are a lot of vegan protein powders, a lot of plant-based ones, a lot of organic ones. And here's the real trip, Shador. More lead was found in the plant-based protein powders than in the whey protein, okay? That's an issue. That's an issue. And so I'm going to ask this question, and I want you all to put protein in all caps if you have an answer for this. If you're one of the people who uses protein shakes, does this story about lead being in protein powders, does that potentially change how you're going to take in your shakes? Or are you just going to ignore it like y'all just talking too much? So let me explain, and then let me know if it's going to change. Just put capital protein in the chat if it's going to change how you take in your protein. So here's what happened. So Consumer Reports, again, they went through and they looked over 3 months at 23 different protein shakes. And by their standards, they found quite a bit to have levels that were too high, okay, by their standards. But the standards, that's really the key word, because the Consumer Report standard for too much lead from one source is 0.5 micrograms per day. So they're saying that if one of these protein shakes or protein powders has more than 0.5 micrograms per lead in a serving, or more than 0.5 micrograms per day, that's above their limit. That limit is very different from the FDA limit, okay? So the FDA has different limits. For if you are a child, then the limit is 2.2 micrograms per day of lead, okay? If you are a pregnant woman, the limit is 8.8 micrograms of lead per day. And then just for the general population, they say you could have 12.5 micrograms of lead per day. And so you see it's much more liberal in the FDA. So that puts this all into context, right? But who are you listening to? The FDA? I would like to think we could listen to the FDA, but I'll be honest, I do actually, in the case of lead, like being more conservative, because we know that lead can cause very real problems, certainly to young brains like children. It can cause developmental issues, neurological issues for sure. In pregnant women, it can cause issues with the pregnant mom and with the unborn child. And then just in the general population, it can cause high blood pressure, kidney disease, bone pain, neurological issues. So lead is not our friend, but is there too much? I'll say, to find out more information, yes, go back and finish watching my interview. Also, just look up Consumer Reports. Look up Consumer Reports, and they actually list out very specific products, and they tell you the levels that they find. And there are only 2, I believe, of the products where they outright say they don't recommend using it. Other ones, they'll say, hey, I wouldn't use this one more than once a week. I wouldn't use this one more than once a day. I'll use this one every now and then. And so you can use your own judgment, but I certainly would look into it. And then if you see something that has the California Proposition 65 warning label, again, California's rules are stricter than the FDA's about limiting lead. And so I say look for things with that label, and I would recommend avoiding them. Also, when you're doing your protein shakes or your protein powders, look and see if they provide third-party testing where you can see where someone kind of independently evaluates and they share that transparency. But yeah, take a look at that Consumer Reports and look at the ones where they say they don't recommend it at all versus the ones where they say once a week, never, and just kind of take a look in your cabinet and make your decision. The really important key is that you want to use a variety in the protein that you take in. Don't let it all be from protein shakes, period. Use some whole protein sources like eggs, beans, yogurt, things of that nature. Have a variety in your diet and consult with your physician and registered dietitian to find out some good protein sources for you. All right. Did anyone share if this report is going to kind of make them change or look at the labels at all, or they're not studying it?
Well, Sheree says ain't trusting the FDA on this one.
So you're going to be more conservative and just cut back on the lead. I'll be honest, I'm actually with you on this one. No disrespect to the FDA, but when it comes to lead levels, I like to be more conservative. So I'm with California on this one and Consumer Reports.
Yeah. I remember Dr. Alice says we'll make some changes.
Yeah. At very least, it makes you want to kind of go and look. And I was sharing with my nephew, you know, he played football for Rhodes College. He has been a football coach. You know, he lifts weights, all of those. And I shared it with him. He kind of went through and was looking to see, you know, what's on his list. So at least enough to make an informed decision. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Miss Lisa, hello.
Hi,
Lisa says, I make my own protein powder by using certain nuts like walnuts and almonds, hemp seed. You can blend those up together along with pumpkin seeds as well. So you can have a blend of chickpea in there as well. So she makes
that's very good. That's very good. I do want to say, because I know a lot of people, when they hear, you know, things like this, they might say, so I'm not talking about the people who are making their own, but there's certain people who are like, oh, I just use plant-based. Remember, in this case, when you purchased the plant-based powders, they actually had more lead than the whey. And that's because lead is found naturally in soil. It just is. And so it's not about like manufacturers adding in lead. It's about how the protein powders are sourced and what the location is. And so if you have plants, especially rice proteins and pea proteins, if you're someone who uses those, then those are ones that really were likely to have higher lead levels than other ones. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, I'm plant-based, I'm fine, just remember, if you're purchasing them, still look and see if the purchased ones are on that list. So the whey proteins tended to have less lead, but if you want to be plant-based and you don't want anything that's come from cow's milk or any kind of animal source, then you'll need to balance that out as well. Yeah, it's just important. I just like transparency and us being informed so we can make our own decisions about the protein. And I agree. The FDA, they're using data on what levels of lead per day have been shown to cause, issues. But I do like the idea of being more conservative, that 0.5 micrograms from one source per day, if given the choice. So make your choice along with your physician and with your registered dietitians. Yeah, good. But quite a few pencils, huh? A lot of folks with protein shakes. Yeah. And also, this is not to freak out, because no one dose or short-term dose of a protein shake is going to cause a major issue. It's about long-term use and exposure over time, right? So the more you know, the more you grow. And so that's what we're here doing on the Dr. Frita channel, just giving you the information so you can make your most informed choices. Real good. All right. Go ahead, click that click that like button. Please give us a follow. And it's not too late. If you want to become a member, check out the members only videos. The members can tell you, y'all, we have some fun in the members only videos, but certainly on the live Q&A, you'll have full access to be able to ask me. Y'all do the talking during the members only live. You ask me questions, I answer them for the entire period. You can come up on stage and you're not limited to a question. You can keep asking back to back. You can ask for yourself. You can ask for a friend, and I will provide you with medical information based on my years of knowledge, my board certifications, and the fact that I'm nosy when it comes to medicine. I read all day, every day.
And Dr. Free, that's for your chief med heads, correct?
Yes, at the chief med head level for the live Q&A.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, and the resident med heads get access to the members only videos, which I put out every week. The chiefs get access to everything. Yes. All right. So shall we get into our myth versus fact segment?
Sure.
Myth versus fact. Y'all know folks be making up myths, and we like to come here and give the facts. Well, Gucci Mane. Let me see now. Who am I talking to? Have y'all heard of Gucci Mane? Put an ice cream cone in the chat if you have heard of Gucci Mane, whether you're a fan or not. Give me a couple ice cream cones if you're a fan, but at least give me one ice cream cone if you heard of Gucci Mane. Okay. He is a well-known, not only rapper, but he actually is credited. And I don't think he gets enough credit for putting a lot of rappers and hip hop artists on the map, including Nicki Minaj. Yeah. He's put a lot of folks, he's given a lot of people the opportunity, but he's had some issues, some mental health struggles. Specifically, he and his wife are now sharing diagnoses of schizophrenia and bipolar disease. And he's actually been, incarcerated, and likely related to decisions coming from being, having some unmanaged mental health disorders. So he's had some incarcerations, and he ended up losing a lot of the artists, but he still put them on the map. He's still someone who has been arguably one of the best creators, being able to go into the lab, as the young folks call it, and come up just with a lot of music, a lot of beats, a lot of raps. And it's interesting when he shares about what has happened with his diagnoses, what he describes as manic episodes, or being, in mania. That's when he said he was able to just sit and come up with all of his creativity, his rhymes, his music for hours and hours and hours and hours without needing sleep. And so he attributes a lot of his music to actually having unmanaged mania. But let's see, let's go ahead and play this clip, and then let's talk about myth versus fact when it comes to Gucci Mane and schizophrenia and bipolar.
Family, and then my mental health gone. What if I have an episode I can't come back from?
Rapper Gucci Mane is getting really vulnerable about his mental health struggles, and his wife Keisha Kayor is right there by his side, helping him through it all. So while on the Breakfast Club to promote his new book, Episodes, the trap rap icon revealed that he's been living with schizophrenia, and Keisha hasn't been a bystander. She explained her experience, how she protects him, their business, and their relationship.
It's really sad because you're seeing someone you don't know. They're saying things to you that are disrespectful, so mean, and you have to just but I'm not talking to Gucci. Who is this person?
Wow.
I have a
He's
system.
personally.
I take his apps off his phone. First thing I do, I delete Instagram. I delete everything. Even if I got to change his password, I'm changing it because I don't need the public to know he's having an episode. And now before the episodes come, I catch it. So that's why he hasn't had another one.
And although Keisha has held him down through it all, unfortunately, his friends have not done the same.
I really recommend going and watching that full interview. It's really eye-opening because I'll be honest, I heard some things kind of in the periphery and on the scenes, but I actually did not know that he had an official diagnosis. And until his wife shared what she's been doing to protect him in a sense, I really didn't know. All right. So do we have any ice cream cones in the chat? I'm curious.
Yeah. Yes, we do have some ice cream cones in the chat.
Okay. So y'all know about Gucci Mane. Okay. So let's go ahead and have myth versus statement number 1. Medheads, y'all have been on fire today. Let me see how y'all do with this segment.
All right. People with schizophrenia have multiple or split personalities.
People with schizophrenia have multiple or split personalities. Put an M1 if that's a myth, an F1 if that's a fact. All right, myth versus fact statement number 2.
Bipolar disorder causes extreme shifts between periods of high energy and depression.
M2 if that's a myth, F2 if that's a fact. All right, pencils down, pencils down. Let's go to myth versus fact statement number 1.
All right. Statement number 1. People with schizophrenia have multiple or split personalities.
All right, what'd they say?
All right. We do have a mix on this one, Dr. Frita.
Okay.
We have Miss Delicious.
Yeah, Miss
Hi,
Delicious.
She says myth.
Wait, y'all know Delicious? Oh, she was one of the original reality stars, and she was married to one of the exonerated 5. All right, Miss Delicious. Oh, I'm sorry, you said myth?
Says myth.
Okay, so you think it's a different diagnosis. Good, okay.
Donna Michi says a myth.
Hello, Nurse Donna Michi. Okay, you say it's a myth as well. All right.
Anton, hello.
Welcome back, Anton.
Anton says a fact.
You think it's a fact, okay, that it's the same as having multiple personalities.
Lisa J says a fact.
Lisa J says it's a fact, okay.
Miss Aileen agrees that it is a fact.
Hi, Miss Aileen. One thing Miss Aileen gonna do, and that's participate. I appreciate you, okay.
Elonia says a myth.
A myth. You think there's nuances to this, okay?
Over on IG, Helen says a fact.
Okay.
And what say you, Dr. Frita?
It's a myth. It's a myth. And here's the thing, and I knew this would mix people up because people with the diagnosis of schizophrenia will have what appears to be a change in personality and a change in behavior. So with schizophrenia, that is a brain disorder, a mental health disorder that affects the way that one senses the world, senses their environment. And it can lead to delusions or false beliefs. It can lead to hallucinations, both visual hallucinations where you see things that aren't really there, also audible hallucinations where you hear things that aren't really there. And it can really cause erratic behavior that makes you seem almost like you're someone else. But truth be told, when we're talking about having multiple personality disorder, as it used to be called, then that dissociative disorder is something separate from schizophrenia. So schizophrenia is separate from what used to be called a multiple personality disorder. And actually, give me a brain emoji in the chat if you want me to do some short form content. I'll go into it. I'll do a little content on schizophrenia, bipolar, and I'll touch a little bit on what was called multiple personality disorder. Let me see, put a brain in the chat and we'll get more into that. But schizophrenia is separate from having multiple personalities. Okay. All right, let's go with myth versus fact statement number 2.
All right. Bipolar disorder causes extreme shifts between periods of high energy and depression.
All right. What say you?
Donamichi, hello.
Hi, Nurse Donamichi.
Says a fact.
It's a fact. Jack. Okay.
Mon says it is a fact.
Hi, Mon. Okay.
Ifiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Says fact.
Fact. Okay.
Sky's limit agrees.
Sky's the limit. Okay.
CJ also says a fact.
A fact. We didn't get a mixed bag on this one.
A little bit. Elonia says a myth.
Elonia says it's a myth. Okay.
Lady Di.
Hey, Lady Di.
Well,
Hold on, I had a medical school
Lady Red
classmate.
says myth. Lady Red says myth.
It said, oh, Lady Red says it's a myth.
A lot of
Okay.
I's and D's. Lady Red says myth.
Okay.
Hakeem says it is a fact.
It's a fact. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And over on IG, I am resolution says a fact, as well as Helen says.
Hello. Hey, thank y'all on IG. All right. Well, this one actually is a fact. Okay. Bipolar disorder is characterized by extremes in depression versus very high energy. And there are a couple different types, bipolar 1, bipolar 2. And there have been many celebrities who've come out and who've shared that they've had diagnoses of bipolar disorder. And so when you have bipolar, then it's characterized by periods of depression. And we know that having major depressive disorder is when you have periods of having extreme sadness, inability to experience pleasure. It can cause you to have either insomnia where you can't sleep, or hypersomnia where you're sleeping all the time, change in appetite where you're eating more than you typically eat, or you have like anorexia, you're not eating at all. You will just have changes of behavior, but the overriding characteristic is sadness, inability to feel pleasure. And in bipolar disorder, that's contrasted with bouts of having very high energy, manic states, as they've been called, where you have sleeplessness, where you're staying up, where you get flight of speech, where you have tangential thought, okay, or you have disrupted thoughts, where you might have, where you're not eating very much, you're not requiring sleep. You might get delusions of grandeur, where you have these really unrealistic thoughts of yourself, and not, for example, if you're someone who your whole life has never played basketball, then you might be 45 years old and you might say, you know what, I'm about to go out and play for the Lakers, and you might really think you can do it. So that's like a delusion of grandeur. And so these alternate. So bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2. If you check out my video right here on YouTube, and I'm very excited to say here on YouTube, we have over 900,000 subscribers. So I thank you to everyone who has subscribed. We take pride in sharing evidence-based medicine with you. I have all kinds of playlists here, kidney playlists, high blood pressure playlists. I also have television playlists where I show you clips from the different national news shows, television shows that I've been on. I already mentioned, check out Don Lemon, the Don Lemon Show. I'll be on there this afternoon. I've been on there several times at this point. I've also been on the Emmy Award-winning Paternity Court. I've been on the National News Nation Show, HLN, the Portia Show, 11 Alive, NBC, our local CBS. You just saw me on the clip from last week, the local Fox 5, Washington, D.C. But all those things are right here. So I thank you to everyone who's subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, and please share. I guarantee you, I will give you information that will help you to have a healthier, happier life. Okay. But yes, I have a video here on the YouTube channel where I talk about bipolar 1 versus bipolar 2 disease, to go into details about that. But yeah, good work. Good work. So do we have any brains? If I see some brains, I'm gonna go ahead and do a Gucci Mane video this week where I kind of go into schizophrenia, bipolar, and touch a little bit on,
yes,
on the
we have several
brains. Who? I'm just curious. Who want to know?
Member Miss Patricia.
Hey, thank you for being a member, Miss Patricia.
Member Rosalind.
Hello, Miss Rosalind. Thank you for
Miss
being a member.
Liz.
Hello, hello. All right, I'll put that out. I'll put that out. Make sure that you have your notifications on. If you, I usually first put those out on IG, Facebook, TikTok. So make sure that you follow me at Dr.Frita on all social media platforms. Put the notifications up, and you'll be among the first to know when I release the new content. All right. So, I want to give some more medicine, Shador. Let's give them a second weekly dose of medicine. Yes, why give you a fresh take that you just can't get anywhere else? Let's talk about Brandy. Oh my goodness. You know, Brandy and Monica are on the Boy Is Mine tour, and I'm going to that concert. I am. They added a second date here in Atlanta, and they're saying they want us to wear suits. They added the second date because one is going to be, I believe, Halloween, and another one, if I'm not mistaken, November 4th. But y'all go to their websites, follow them. Anyway, so Brandy and Monica. Now, y'all know y'all see Brandy's brother more in the headlines lately, Ray J, with all of his shenanigans. But Brandy was in the headlines this past week because they were doing a Chicago portion, a weekend tour, not the one they just did, but the weekend prior. And she ended up having to walk off of the stage, and she didn't come back to perform. And it was reportedly due to dehydration. And a lot of people were giving her a hard time, but let me tell you something, dehydration can be life-threatening. So let's play that clip and then we'll talk about dehydration.
The Brandy and Monica concert at the United Center Saturday ended abruptly with just Monica. Brandy left the stage during the show and did not return. Her co-headliner, Monica, finished without her, but some songs were left out, including their hit duet from 1998, The Boy Is Mine. Online, Brandy apologized to fans, saying she was suffering from dehydration and said she felt like she was going to faint. Brandy resumed the tour last night in Indianapolis without incident.
And for people who've gone, I heard that tour is good. I hear that Brandy and Monica have on all these, elaborate costumes, heavy costumes, hot costumes. And y'all know Brandy can dance. If y'all listen here, and they say she is dancing down to the ground, all the lights, that they have a really intense show schedule. And yeah, she says she had dehydration. And so we're going to talk about potential complications of dehydration. But I want you to put in the chat, please, put Brandy in all capital letters, Brandy, and tell me what some of the signs and symptoms of dehydration are. What are some signs and symptoms of dehydration? Y'all think y'all little know-it-alls, med heads. Let me see what you know. So you give me the signs and symptoms, and let me talk to you about what dehydration is and some of the complications. So dehydration occurs quite simply when you have more water leaving your body than what you're taking in. And so essentially you're dry, okay? You have a water depletion in your body. And not only are you losing water, you can also lose electrolytes like sodium, potassium. It can throw off your electrolytes, which can cause other complications. So here are some of the complications of dehydration. You can feel faint, or like you're going to pass out, have a syncopal episode, or lose consciousness. And Brandy did share that she was feeling faint. You can get low blood pressure or hypotension. And when that happens, your blood pressure drops and you don't get enough blood flow or perfusion to the brain that can cause you to faint. You can also lose proper blood flow to other organs. And guess what? You can lose proper blood flow to the kidneys, and dehydration can cause kidney failure. Okay, I'm a board certified kidney doctor. You know this. I have actually had to put patients on dialysis due to severe dehydration. No joke. So yeah, y'all get what I'm saying? Dehydration can be serious. It can cause pre-renal azotemia. Dehydration can also increase your risk for having UTIs, urinary tract infections, and it can cause you to have muscle cramps, of course, and it can cause you to have nausea, confusion, altered mental status. So there are some very real complications of dehydration. In her case, she was feeling faint, and she said that she was having trouble connecting sonically. And so it really could cause you to have some type of a altered mental status where perhaps you wouldn't be able to listen and comprehend the music the way you normally do to be able to put out your vocals for a concert. So all of these things really can happen. And when you take a look at the show, these snippets, Brandy is dancing like her life depends on it. Okay. And she's already, wearing heavy costumes, and she already talked about how, you're kind of going and going and going and going. And so if you're someone who is a high performer, a perfectionist, this is something that very realistically could happen. And so it looks like she's better because she's come back. And in fact, she went back to Chicago, I believe, this past weekend. And from all reports I'm hearing, the concert was great. I hear Brandy is belting out the vocals. And so the dehydration, it's real, and it really could be a cause for walking off of the stage. Now to my med heads. Anyone put what you think some of the signs and symptoms are of dehydration?
Absolutely.
What you got? What you got?
Trucker Layla.
Hello, Trucker Layla.
Headaches.
Headaches, absolutely. If you get dehydrated, you can definitely get a pounding headache. In fact, I'll talk to people about that all the time. I have certain people in my family who wake up in the morning wanting some Tylenol because they have a headache. And my first question is always, are you hydrated? Have you had enough water? Oftentimes, once you get that hydration going, bloop, the headache will go away and you don't even have to take any medicine. So that's a good one.
Vicky, hello.
Hi.
Vicky says thirst or dry skin.
Absolutely. You can have thirst. And here's the thing. By the time you actually feel the sensation of thirst, you're already behind. You're already dehydrated. And yes, dry skin. And when your physicians examine you, if you have extreme dehydration, you can get something called tinting. So if y'all just lift up your arms. If you pinch the skin on your arm, then your skin should be supple and that skin should pop right back down. Pop, pop. But if you are dehydrated and you have really dry skin and even like dry mucous membranes, like if you're dry even under your skin, then when you pinch, even when you let go, the skin will stay up for a while like a tint and slowly go down. That's a sign of severe dehydration, tinting. Yeah. When I did my internal medicine pediatrics residency at Georgetown, when I would do that pediatrics rotation and babies who came in with all kinds of, diarrhea, vomiting, and they were really dehydrated, that's one of the things that we'll be able to see in children, tinting of the skin. So good.
All right. Remember Ms. Rosalind added fatigue.
Absolutely. Being fatigued. And how are you going to be up there singing The Boy Is Mine with Brandy and Monica on stage if you're fatigued? Absolutely. Fatigue.
Over on IG, unspoken.
Hi, unspoken.
Says lips may appear white.
Ooh, I think I need you to come to the front of the stage. You said lips might appear white. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let me tell you why. So in general, you can get pale skin, right? But if you're someone who has a lot of melanin, it's not always obvious that your skin is pale, right? And so it's important to look other places, like on the lips. The lips might appear pale. So if you take your lip and flip it down, I'll spare y'all, but it should be nice and red with little tiny blood vessels, right? Really pink, really pink. But if your lips seem pale, that could be a sign of having kind of some dryness or some dehydration. But so yeah, that's a possibility. And then having a dry mouth as well. And then jumping over to anemia, which is something else that can cause similar symptoms. Instead of the lips being pink, they can be pale. And for anemia, yes, I've jumped to anemia. If you pull down the eyelid, instead of it having lots of tiny little red vessels and being really pink, 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 it'll be pale. And so I like that idea of looking at places other than just the skin for these symptoms, because depending on the pigment or the level of melanin, what appears for some people might not appear for other people who are Black or brown. So I like that. Yeah.
Remember Miss Patricia added low blood pressure.
Absolutely. Low blood pressure or hypotension is a complication. And yeah, that can be a sign. Someone takes your pressure and it's low. It's like, oh, my pressure normally doesn't run that way. Think back to how much water you're drinking. And so it's going to vary from person to person. If you're an average healthy person, then usually at least 64 ounces of water a day or 2 to 3 liters. So if you think about 16-ounce bottles of water, anywhere from 4 to 6 of these for most average healthy adults should keep you hydrated. If you have advanced kidney disease, you might be on a fluid restriction. If you have congestive heart failure, liver disease, lung disease, your doctor may also have you on a fluid restriction. So consult with your doctor to find out how much water is right for you. And some physicians recommend drinking half of your ideal body weight. So half of your weight in pounds, drink that in ounces, ideal body weight. And for the average healthy adult, that's a recommendation. Consult with your doctor. Okay. All right, that's good. I love the participation. Y'all make sure you give us a like, and also be sure you go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. There, I have my blog there. I have connections to my other social media platforms. You can also purchase my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure, where I talk about managing blood pressure, not only from traditional medicines, but also I talk about natural ways to lower blood pressure. So you can get that if you go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. And you can check out my favorite things, where I recommend my favorite blood pressure pressure cuffs. I recommend my favorite free weights for keeping your muscle mass. Go get it. I recommend just various things, including my juicers that I like, and I give you a discount code. So go check out my favorite things on drfrita.com. All right, let's talk about steps. Step. Oh, what is that? Long heels, okay, steps. For the longest time, we've been talking about, using your smart watches, your smartphones, your smart devices for doing 10,000 steps a day. But it looks like we have some data suggesting that you might not need that many steps. Now, if you're doing those steps just fine, nobody's telling you to slow down. But let's just take a look at this next clip and let's talk about how many steps are good for staying healthy.
We're going to turn now to a new study about the magic number of steps you should be getting per day and how much it could lower your risk of death. Our ABC News chief medical correspondent, Dr. Tara Narula, is here to break it down. It's great to see you, Doc. So what is this big magic number and how did we get there?
Yes, the secret number. Well, our modern lifestyle has so much of us sedentary, and we talk so much about how moving more and more steps can increase our health benefits. But as you said, what is the magic number? Well, researchers looked at that in 38,000 roughly older women, average age of 70, who they gave an accelerometer to count their steps for about a week. Then they followed them over the next 10 years. And they found something interesting, which is that it doesn't take that much, Rebecca. So if you walked about 4,000 steps 1 to 2 days a week, they dropped their mortality or death by about 26%.
Wow.
And their cardiovascular disease risk by about 27%. If you walked 4,000 steps for 3 or more days a week, your death rate dropped by about 40% and your cardiovascular disease by about 27%. What happened if you upped your steps to 5,000 to 7,000? The death rate continued to drop, which was great. The cardiovascular disease risks seemed to level off. So there are two real big findings here. One, it doesn't take that much. 4,000 steps is about 1.5 miles to 2 miles. You think about that 1 to 2 days a week. The second is that it doesn't matter how you do it. Really, what was more important was the average steps over the week, not the pattern of it. There were some limitations to this study, big ones being it was a white population, older women, higher socioeconomic status. So it does need to be repeated in more diverse populations.
Very good. I love that study. Question. And I want you to put walk, all capital letters, WALK, and answer this for me. How many steps do you average a day? Is it under 4,000, under 5,000, under 9,000? Is it over 10,000? How many steps do you average a day or most days? And I really like that, Shador, because a lot of people have an all or nothing attitude. They'll say, okay, I'm going to work out today. But if they don't have a block in their schedule to work out for a full hour of intense HIIT or running or being on the treadmill, they'll just give up and say, okay, I don't have time to exercise. But what this study emphasizes is that you heard what she said. It doesn't matter even the pattern of steps. So you don't even have to be speed walking or have on your leg warmers, Jane Fonda Get in Shape Girl outfit to walk. You can just be walking at work, going up and down steps. I actually, oh gosh. Yes, one of our patients that we had last week was sharing how her job is she's at the airport and she helps people who are in wheelchairs. And so she said that she gets over 10,000 steps a day doing that. Okay. And in the study, all it would take is 4,000 steps 1 to 2 days a week or most days of the week in order to have clinically significant improvements in health. And so just remember, try not to be an all or none person. Perfect is boring. So if you get in the steps, however you get them in, then we see that it can significantly improve your health. All right. Did anyone throw in there how many steps they're getting a day?
Absolutely. Elonia says 2,000 to 3,000.
Good. Okay. And so we're seeing by the study, if you're able to push it even to 4,000, then you can really have a clinically significant benefit, but don't slow down. So that's good. All right.
LaShawn says she's walked 5,000 steps a day.
Perfect. So you're already in there according to this study. That's very good. Keep it up.
Liz says under 4,000.
Under 4,000. All right. Let's keep pushing. And like, you don't have to be sitting here, speed walking like Speedy Gonzalez. You can just be walking casually. And when you park your car, instead of parking right by the grocery store, park several rows down and force yourself to walk. If you're able to walk up steps, then try doing that instead of the elevator. You ain't got to go to the 16th floor, but you can maybe walk 1 or 2 flights of steps, just taking it in baby steps. So very good. But what I like, Shador, is that based on prior studies, if someone told me they were walking 7,000 steps, I'd be like, okay, we'll try to get it to 10,000. Now we actually have data to show, you know what, if you're doing 4,000, I've got some good clinical data to show that you are making a difference. And I like what she mentioned. This study does need a repeat. It needs more diversity. It was mostly white women, higher socioeconomic status, but it's a start. It's a start. And so very good. Yeah. Walk it out. Walk it out.
Siri says I am walking now after lunch, trying to get 20 to 25 minutes in.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah, you can get some pretty good movement in 20 to 25 minutes. Yeah, I'm proud of y'all for doing that walking, for trying, for making the difference. According to the American Heart Association, it's recommended for most people to walk 150 or to exercise, moderate exercise, 150 minutes per week. So that's about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Look, IG, that was one of the things I did. And Facebook, Shador, I was telling my kids how one of my dialysis nurses was like, Dr. Frita, are you losing weight? You're looking skinny. I told them that. And without a beat, Avery said, who said that?
Oh my gosh.
So I exercised this weekend.
Oh goodness. Capri on IG says dancing gives lots of steps, 45,000.
That's my favorite form of exercise. I know that's right, Capri. That is my favorite form of exercise. In fact, I'm gonna start putting a little more variety in it. I dance at the house. I know my kids wish I'll sit down. I won't, but I'm gonna see if I can get back into Zumba. I have my kids at the Y. That's where they go and they play their basketball and they lift their little weights and things. I need to go back to taking advantage of those Zumba classes. Roll with it, rock with it. All right, real good. All right, well, I certainly want y'all. I appreciate y'all for joining us here today. I thank you to everyone who participated. Hey, replay. Thank you to my replay crew. Thank you to IG, Facebook. Thank you to those of you here on YouTube where we have over 900,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed, please do. We're trying to march on to 1 million. I thank you to my members. I'm about to see y'all right now in our members only live Q&A. If you are at the top level, and if you're at the next level, then you have access to all of the members only videos that I put out every week. Make sure that you go check out the Don Lemon Show right here on YouTube. I will be on there this afternoon. Go over there, click notification, and you'll know when the topic drops. I'm talking about the breaking news from today, and that is that President Donald Trump shares that for his second annual, why would you have more than one annual? Okay, for his second annual health checkup, he had an MRI. And so I give my speculations on that. Of course, I'm not his doctor. I don't know, but just from a medical perspective, I share the possibilities of why a 79-year-old man with certain, things that we've observed with him would be having an MRI. You don't want to miss that. It was a great conversation with Don Lemon that I had today. It's airing today. And of course, follow me on my one-stop shop, Dr.Frita, where you can purchase my book. And if you would like to have a conversation with me one-on-one, make sure you check out our telehealth concierge service. I can have a conversation with you from anywhere in the world. I can take a full history, and from my various expertise and my love of medicine and my knowledge of medicine, I can talk to you from anywhere in the world. And we've actually opened up. We've been so popular with this concierge that I've actually opened up more slots. So make sure you check us out. And yeah, I've been having very good success with this concierge service. I appreciate y'all for joining. I thank you for your input. Y'all are so smart. Y'all gave a lot of input and a lot of food for thought. And I really appreciate you for that. And I guarantee as people go back and watch this, as you watch the replays, your participation is really going to help people to live their healthiest, happiest lives. So I thank you. Please make sure you give us a like on the way out the door. And so I appreciate you for watching us here on the trending health medical topics and the headlines, celebrity health. And thank you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week.
And shout out Dr. Frita to newest member, Donna Michi.
Oh, thank you, Nurse Donna Michi, for joining. I appreciate you.
See y'all.